Hi everyone. I have some Q&As today because you guys have been doing what I've asked and you have been submitting questions and I have been doing what I said I have been lying because I keep saying that I'm going to answer the questions and I haven't answered that. I've cucked you guys on the questions. First, I'm just going to vent for a real quick sec. I get a lot of questions about like content creation and what that looks like, which I'm happy to do. I don't know if any of you give a fuck, but I'm happy to do an episode about getting into content creation. I know I've done this with acting, like my advice for becoming an actor and acting classes and all of that, the sexy stuff that happens before you actually get a job. I'm happy to do that with content creation. The cool thing about content creation is there used to kind of be a path with acting. That's also changed too. I honestly just feel like social media has changed so many industries. There used to be like, you want to be an actor, this is what it looks like. And now, there's a billion different ways that people get discovered or get their big break or discover that they love acting, whatever it is. Same thing with content creation, but I'm more than happy to like talk about it more with you guys. But I'm just going to vent for a few seconds because I've said this before. I am so fortunate to do what I do. I love what I do. I really I have complaints. I'm not going to say I don't have any complaints. I do have complaints. We're so fortunate. Like, it is an unbelievable career. And what I love about the career is it really is something that can be accessible to anyone. If you got a phone, you can do it, really, like it's not like you have to be. Acting used to be like, you want to be an actor, you have to live in LA or New York. You can live fucking on a farm in the middle of nowhere. As long as you got a phone and maybe potentially a tripod, you can do it. That's what I love about it. Because when you go to events or you hang out with other creators, there's just like such an amazing there's just like huge spectrum of creators. And everybody has different kinds of comfort creators and that looks different for everybody. And that's what I love about it. However, which I always say, it is still a job. There are downfalls. Like, there are annoying fucking things about the job. The problem is that the downfalls of the job are so specific to the job that like it's really hard to kind of vent about them to people that aren't in the field. And then also, I think social media, because it's such a highlight reel and people see influencers like, going to Pilates in the middle of the day and making big purchases. There is this idea that, well, you cannot complain, which I'm not saying you should complain, but it is fair to have work frustrations. There are a lot of frustrations that come with a job. This one is the least of my worries. It's just the top of my mind. So when you partner with a brand, right, this is usually the run of show. There's a few things that happened. The brand, will reach out to your team. Hey, we want to work with you. This is how much this is. These are the deliverables. And, whatever those look like, certain parts of deliverables are huge cost drivers. So for an example, sometimes it'll be like, okay, we need one video and it's syndicated, no exclusivity. That means you can post it and then you can work with our direct competitor the next day, which you shouldn't in general, because that would be a wild fucking take. But that's going to be less expensive than if a brand says, okay, you have a video, it's syndicated you post it on TikTok and Instagram or YouTube or whatever. You have exclusivity, meaning you cannot work with anybody in that category for X amount of time. And then we're also going to run money behind your video and use it as an ad, right? So there's different cost drivers when it comes to that. That happens. Your team gives it to you. And then usually you get a creative brief. They'll send you a creative brief. It talks about, is there a hero product? Are there specific talking points? Is there a way that you want us, like certain claims that we can't make, especially if it's something that like you can't make medical claims or you can't use like, instead of using this word, you have to use this word, right? There's all like the do's and don'ts, right? And usually it's like no alcohol, no profanity, don't be a fucking asshole, don't bully people. Pretty straightforward. Then sometimes, now I feel like it's the norm that you have to write scripts. You have to submit your scripts and usually your shot list. That's always a little hard for somebody like me because I have two different kinds of brand deals. I either have a super scripted shot by shot sketch, which is I can send that in, or I really do like a live reaction and it's really improv based. And sometimes I try to push back and be like, I don't want to give you a full script because I really want it to be in the moment, whatever it is. Different kinds of creators. I would say that more times than not, from what I've seen just from my brand friends and my creator friends, creators love a like thought starters or a brief that kind of be like gives them guardrails. I don't like that. I like to write my own script. But I will do both. However, if a brand comes to us and they're like, "Hey, this is the product, this is the script," I'm like, "No, I'm not doing that." Those are usually the deals that I pass when they're not flex, because it just feels out of place. I'm like, I'm not going to follow a script. You know, I mean, these are commercials at the end of the day, right? Like that's what we're doing. We're shooting commercials, but like. The cool thing about social media is like we can make commercials not fucking lame. So if you give me a script, but you're giving 8 other creators the same fucking script and everyone's videos are going out on the same day, I'm not doing that. It's just, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. People see it. It feels weird. Also, it just stands out like a sore thumb on my page. So I would say that I put in a lot of work when it comes to writing and filming and editing ads. Like I always make sure, I feel like I always prioritize how can I marry the brand and what the brand stands for and the brand's brand as well as my own brand. How can I integrate the two so it feels cohesive on both pages? It feels very organic and lived in. And then also a huge part of that is only working with brands that I love, that I'm excited to try, that I've used before. As long as you do that, you're going to have a good ad, essentially, right? Because it's going to be organic and it's going to be real and authentic. This is the issue that I'm fucking running into right now. And I know any creator is agreeing with this. You'll get a brief. And then every brand wants to do a briefing call. Okay? But this is what's happening on these briefing calls now. It's just people reading the brief to you. It's just people reading the fucking brief. Okay? Listen, if a lot of times we have to do a briefing call because there's complex information that needs to be communicated to us from the brand or the agency that really can't be like written out in a brief, or they need to like show you something that would require you to sign an NDA because it hasn't come out yet, or a song that you have to use that's not released that they can't like send to you in an email. So there are purposes for branding calls. I'm game. Let's fucking brand call it up. What I'm frustrated with is they will send you a brief and then they'll send you a brief on Friday and then they'll be like, we need a briefing call on Monday at 8 a.m. And then I get on the briefing call at Monday at 8 a.m. and it's just a couple of 21-year-olds reading me the brief. I cannot tell you how many calls I've gotten on. Hey guys, how's everybody doing? Where are you guys based? New York, Florida, LA? Great. Okay. And then they're like, have you had a chance to look at the brief? Yeah, actually, I've looked over the entire brief and I physically took notes on every single slide. I actually already have my concept. Okay, well, we're going to go over the brief. Great, let's go over the brief. And then they just pull up slide 1. They read every single bullet. Pull up slide 2. Read every single bullet. And then at the end, you got any questions? Nope. Feel like we could have done this over an email. Feel like this all could have been communicated over an email. And the frustrating part is, if you're lucky, you know, obviously there are seasons as a content creator where you're like, is someone going to work with me? But for the most part, you're usually working on multiple campaigns at once, right? And then like, that's where it gets frustrating for a creator, because I think sometimes brands think like, oh, this is the only brand deal you have this year. So we're going to have 8 briefing calls. And then we're going to go through 3 different script rewrites. But like the reality is we're also doing briefing calls and writing concepts and shooting and editing for other brands. And then a lot of us also have our own endeavors, i.e. podcast, i.e. writing a book, i.e. working another 9 to 5, whatever it is, right? This is when I know it's going to be a little bit of a red flag with a brand. We love you. We love you so much. You're so good at what you do. We trust you. We trust you wholeheartedly. We want this to feel very you. Okay, keep going. We've attached a couple of videos for references from your page that we love. Without a fucking doubt, I go, let me guess, the Lemmy video is going to be the first video. Do you guys remember my Lemmy video, right? No shit, you want the Lemmy video effect. It has 50 million fucking views. That's a once in a lifetime video. That's not a video that like, oh yeah, I'm going to give you the Lemmy effect. That video went super viral because it wasn't a paid ad, number one. I made no money from Lemmy for that video. It was just very lived in, and it was just, again, it was like capturing lightning in a bottle. I get so frustrated because this is what a brand will do. They'll send me the Lemmy video and they'll be like, we love this. We love this vibe. This is the vibe that we're going for. Here's our creative brief with 75 talking points. And then also make sure you show or mention the product in the first 5 seconds. Make sure you do hashtag partner on screen. Make sure you only keep it 15 seconds. Here is a page of 75 talking points and ingredients we want you to include, but we want you to have creative freedom, and we want this to feel very much like you. There's never a time where I want to smash my head through fucking glass more, because it's like, that's when it gets frustrating, because then you start to feel like a show dog, because you're like, well, which one is it? Do you want this to be an ad? Do you want this to be me? Do I have creative freedom? Do I not? It's exhausting. I just had that with a brand. Okay. Even my boyfriend, he's like, you give brands so much. I literally will write, if you want something, I'm going to give it to you. And I'm going to give it to you 5 days before it's due. I'm like a workhorse. One thing about me, you can tell me I'm ugly. You can tell me I'm not funny. You can tell me this, that. You cannot tell me I am not a hard worker, because I fucking work like a dog, no matter what I do. I am a all or nothing kind of girl. Okay. You want a concept in 5 days? I gave it to you yesterday. I just recently wrote this. I have a call with the brand. We love you so much. You're so good at hooks. You're so good at engaging content. You're so good at this. We love you. We love you. You have full creative freedom. Hey, are there any talking points? No talking points. Are there any do's or don'ts? No, have fun. Are there any that, no. Great, awesome. But send us a concept. Okay, I'll send you a concept. So I send them a concept, shot by shot by shot, line by line by line by line. We love it. This is so good. We love it so much. This is a perfect video. Great, cannot wait. Shoot the video. Wait, we hate it. We hate everything about this video. What? You have to show the product in the first second. Before the video even plays, I want the product to just be the entire screen. I sent you the script. I even called out the exact time that the exact brand would be shown. And you said, yup, love it. Oh my God, nothing irks me fucking more than that. And I am such a principle-based person, and this is what I'm running into. I call my manager and I say, tell them to keep their money. I'm burning the video. And my manager always has to be like, okay, hold on a second. Because I'm like, no, it's not my fucking fault. Let's be flex. This is a relationship, right? I don't get to just say no, but it's a two-way street here. Let's find, how can we salvage this? It's not my fault you didn't read what I wrote. That's not my fault. That doesn't fall on me. How can we rectify this situation without making me have to basically redo all of my work? That's what's hard about brands. And Shane does this now on the other side. And I always tell him, you have to be mindful of creators too. And you can't be like an asshole and be like, no, we hate this, fucking redo the entire thing. That doesn't feel great. How can you, sometimes people will just be like, no, we hate it. It's not a strong hook. Okay, well, what's the feedback? Give me, instead of being like, hey, we think it would be beneficial if she said this. They give these very nuanced, vague notes. And then I have to kind of formulate a thought. My job is not to formulate a thought. My job is to give you the script, to shoot it, to edit it, and to make everybody happy. Okay. So I keep running into that. And the principal version of me, the one on the Enneagram, the reformer in me is like, fuck you. I'm not doing the video then. Fuck you. Because I gave you exactly what you asked. Now, how are we running into problems? Anyway, I'm going to answer some Q&As. There's my 15-minute rant. Okay. First question, if you could rewrite or redo one moment from your childhood with confidence and clarity you have now, what would it be and how would you change the story you tell today? Wow, what a good question. For the sake of the question, I'm going to answer it, but I really, really, really try to be a firm believer and not regretting or rewriting any part of my life. Are there things that I did that I regret? Yes. Are there times that I wish I made a different decision? Of course. However, I really am a firm believer in everything somehow leads you to where you're supposed to be. I know that's not the answer that you want. So for the sake of this question, I will say this. When I was really young, I was so confident. I was so me. I was very, very me. I just was unapologetically myself. And part of that comes from being an only child with parents that just allowed me to be who I was. And then somewhere along the lines, I lost her. The world took hold of me and kids were mean and I was on a show and all the versions of myself that I loved, I started to resent and hate. And I lived many years dimming my light. I spent many years dimming my light and just being embarrassed. Like I would like somebody would say something and I would get really red and I would kind of like, like do the woe is me and pity me game. Fuck that shit. I wish I didn't do any of that shit. I wish that I knew that all of those people that were mean were going to end up being losers anyway. I just wish I didn't care. I just wish the stakes weren't always so high for me. Even in high school, I mean, Kelsey and I talk about this all the time. The stakes were so high. Like if a guy didn't like you, or if a guy found out that you liked him, if you got picked last to go to this, if you didn't get invited to this party, it literally felt like, okay, so I'm going to run in front of traffic. You know what I mean? Like the stakes were so unnecessarily high. And then when you get out, you realize nothing in fucking high school matters. Nothing in fucking college matters. Like nothing ever matters. Like it's only life. Just fucking do what you do and own it. It's literally only life. Everybody's going to die. I know it's morbid, but just do whatever you got to do unapologetically and know that no matter what, there are going to be people that don't like what you do. Even when you play into somebody's hand, there's going to be someone else over here that's going to hate it. So just all you can do is just do what you love, do what you know, do it unapologetically, and don't feel regret about it. And don't be embarrassed. If someone makes fun of you, don't fucking curl up and get really embarrassed because people fucking feed on that. Give it back to them or laugh. Like learning to laugh at yourself, I think, was the greatest gift I could have ever given myself. Like I remember the shift is all of a sudden somebody started making fun of me and I was able to be like, yeah, I am this. And I was like, whoa, that's the most power. That is a superpower because now I created a shield around me that like I'm untouchable when it comes to making fun of me because there's nothing that you're going to say to me that I haven't already said to myself. So that I can handle it, no problem. Number 2, how do you actually come to realize that this is what you're supposed to do and that this was meant for you? I can feel that there's something bigger out there that I need to work towards, but I'm having a hard time pinpointing what it really is. I think that some people have this illusion that one day they're going to meet their partner and they're going to be like, the angels are going to come out of fucking heaven's gates. Oh, that's the one. Or they'll work a job and they'll be like, oh, this is where I was supposed to be all along. Or, you'll do a task and you'll be like, oh, I had no idea I was a Michelin star chef. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like some people think that you're going to do the thing you're supposed to do and like the world is going to stop. And for some people that does happen. Some people meet their soulmate and they're like, I've been searching for you my whole life. Or they do a job and they just feel it in their bones. I think for most people, that's not how it works. I don't think that there's ever been the thing that I'm supposed to do or that I love that I did. And I was like, yes, this is it. I think that my biggest advice is just do as much as possible. Do as much as possible. I think that sometimes when you're doing the thing that you don't love or you're with the person that's not meant for you, it sometimes almost ends up being more important than when you do the thing that you are supposed to do because it just shows you what that emotion is that comes attached with doing the thing that you don't like to do. I think also because of how fast-paced society is these days, because of social media, because of everything being digital, because of everything being accessible so quick, people are a little bit less patient with a payout. So people will start something and they'll be like, no, I don't like it. It doesn't make me happy. Well, even your dream job, there are going to be moments where you fucking hate it. Even your dream partner, there are going to be moments where they piss you the fuck off. That doesn't mean that it's not where you're supposed to be. We very much live in a time of the grass is always greener because I can pick up my phone and I can find another boyfriend. I can find another wife. I can find another job. I can find another friend so easily that we don't really see things through. I think give things a fair chance. The thing, like, I'm supposed to entertain. I know that now. I really do. It looks different every day. There are times where I fucking hate it. You know what I mean? Like there are times where I'm like, why am I doing this? This sucks. I hate this. I don't want to turn on the camera. I don't want to memorize these lines. I don't want to be on set at 4 a.m. I don't want to miss a wedding because I have to go shoot a 14-hour set day. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't mean that it's not the thing that I love to do. So I think that first of all, have realistic expectations That the thing that you love or the thing that's meant for you, whatever that, I don't even like the term meant for you. Like, you weren't put on this earth and you're like, there's one thing that you're supposed to do. Go find it. Go find it. Go spend the next 100 years finding that. That's when we run into the conversation of like, what is your purpose? I think that your purpose can change. I think that your interests can change. I think that the thing that you're quote unquote meant to do can change. I think we need to get out of this mindset of like, okay, I have 100 years, well, I have 20 years. I have to find that thing and then I stick with it for the rest of my life and hopefully it gets better and better and I just make more and more money and my problems get less. You know, things ebb and flow. You might do the thing that you love and maybe there's no money attached to the thing that you love. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it. You know, like you might have a hell day at work. That doesn't mean that you don't love it. So I think just be more realistic about what that looks like. Try as many things as possible. Like when I was trying to act, I was working 3 other jobs. I was in acting classes. I was just exposing myself to so much. And the grind sucked, but I never let how shitty the grind was deter me from what the payout could be. Every day that I was like, oh my God, I just worked 3 jobs or I just did this and now I got to go to an audition and now I got to pay for headshots and I got to go to an acting class. I hate this. I'm having a bad day. I never let that make me lose track of like what the end goal was. Were there times that I wanted to quit? Absolutely. Were there times where I said, maybe this isn't for me? Yeah. But I made it meant for me. You know, like anything can be meant for you if you make it. Like just get over the hump. There are going to be aspects you fucking hate. Don't let that deter you from going after the things that excite you. And also do as many things as possible. I say that with hobbies all the time. I used to do a million hobbies. I didn't love all of them, but I just did as many things as possible so I could start learning about myself. Where do I feel the most fulfilled? Oh, I feel really fulfilled when I do this activity. I don't really feel fulfilled when I do this activity, but I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to give it a fair chance. Maybe I'll fall in love with it down the line. Whatever it is, there's no harm in just doing as many things as possible. Don't burn yourself out, but do as many things as possible. That was a killer answer. Do you have any tips on how to get better at engaging in conversations and being intentional? Listen. None of us listen. We don't listen. Like I said this to my boyfriend the other day. Someone was talking and I felt his mouth moving and I said, stop. You, which I do all the time. You are not listening to anything this person is saying right now. Not because you don't care, but because you're so fixated on what your next thought is going to be. You're not listening. How can you be intentional if you're not listening? I think if you really just listen, that's the best way. In acting, that's also my number one rule. When people are like, what's your tip? Like, when did listen? That's when I found that my acting got so much better. I used to go into an audition or going to an acting class and I had my lines that were memorized line by line by line by line. And I'd go in and I'd say, okay, I say this first line. Great. Okay. What's that third line? Yep. Okay. Said that third line. I threw all of that away. And this just comes with practice of like using that muscle. Now I go in and I listen to the person opposite from me. I just listen. The words will eventually find me. Sometimes they won't. Sometimes I'll forget them and totally black out. But like, I don't need to fixate on memorizing the lines if I just listen, because the next line is going to come to me if I really am intentional about listening to what the person opposite from me has to say. Also, forcing yourself to be bored, spending time off your phone. We're so used to when things get awkward or quiet or weird, we pull this thing out. And that's why we're not good in face-to-face conversations, because we don't know how to deal with the second of awkwardness. Spend time with your phone upstairs, or your phone charged, or your phone turned off, or leave the house without your phone. The more you get used to not being addicted to this and attached to this, the better you're going to be in in-person conversations. This is a good one. How do you manage guilt over making major purchases, and how has your view of personal finance changed over time with the career? I saw another question. I'm going to take that question and I'm also going to add this question. Does the feeling about money ever go away? I'll be making real adult money for the first time as I'm turning 30, and I've had anxiety over overspending since I was a teen. Struggling just looking at my account with all the things you mentioned before paying when the check comes. I'm scared I won't be able to disconnect that anxiety, and I'd really like to know how it feels to not worry anymore. That's a loaded question. Okay. Number 1, spending. this is probably not the best advice because I feel guilt over spending. I don't feel guilt over spending for other people. I never, it's like always, that always feels like the best money. I feel guilt over spending for myself. And I get that from my mom. My mom never bought herself anything growing up. And like, again, she would shop at TJ Maxx, buy a bag for $39.99, come home and be like, I just feel like I don't need it. And she would return it. So I got that from my mom, who got that from her mom. So I'm trying to unlearn that. I will say I have a complex because I know I get guilty. And I say this with a grain of salt because I don't think that this should be your financial advice, because this could be a very dangerous, slippery slope. And I also don't know what your personality is when it comes to finances. But for me, I know that when I spend money, it like puts a fire under my ass to make more money. I have proven to myself that even when I get stressed, I've never done something irresponsible. I'm not crazy. I also have a team around me. I have a business manager and a financial advisor now. So I have checks and balances in place to always make sure that I am spending significantly below what I have been told I can spend. And I always invite people in. So I talk to Shane, I talk to my business manager and my financial advisor and be like, is this okay? Can I do this? Always, because they see how many I'm spending a lot of money on taxes. I have a lot of business expenses, a lot. Like, you know, I make great money now. I also have a huge fucking laundry list of expenses every month. So I have people that kind of see what that looks like. So I have people that hold me accountable, and I highly recommend a financial advisor to anybody that's kind of probably, especially if you've gone from not making any money and not having any money at all to making a lot of money. A financial advisor is a really good person to help you understand what your threshold is. Because my financial advisor called me and told me the story, because when I first started making good money, I called him and I said, how much money do I have? Like, can I buy this? And mind you, like the purchase, it was like a $500 something. And my financial advisor was like, yes, Christina, you can afford to buy that. But I was like, how do you figure out how much, like when you go from not having any money and hitting overdraft fees, how do you learn, like now I'm making money. How do I know how much money I have? Like I'm still learning. I have no idea. He said to me that Eminem's like financial advisor has been his financial advisor since he was very young. And apparently, obviously he comes from no money and didn't have any money. And he obviously made a fuck ton of money. Apparently he would call his financial advisor about every fucking purchase. And apparently, do you guys remember G-Shock watches? They were like $125. Do you remember those big clunky ass? They would come in like all different colors. Apparently he called his financial advisor and was like, hey, can I buy a G-Shock? And his financial advisor was like, dude, you can buy 1,000 G-Shocks. Yes, you're fine. You know what I mean? But it goes to show like when you're so in the mindset of having financial stress, it's really is hard to get out of that. There's no right answer for you for that. I'm constantly toying with, I work really hard for my money. I work really hard for my money, like really hard. I work insanely hard. I want to enjoy it, but I also want to be responsible because I don't have a safety net at all to fall back on. And I one day, would probably want to have kids. So I still have financial, my family's financial situation is another aspect of my processing of things that has been a little bit difficult for me. My number one priority now that I make money is how can I help like the people around me. I also grew up with a dad, like my dad, even when he had no money, was like always would tip. Like my dad also used to be a valet, used to do valet. So I always like tip and give I don't know. That's been the best part of having money. I've always even when I had no money, I would always tip, but like I get to like really tip. And I love that because I don't know. That's been my favorite part about having money is to be able to like tip people really well and to see their faces. Because a lot of people don't fucking tip. And I saw that working in the restaurant, right? Working in a restaurant that catered to A-list celebrities. I saw how fucking terrible people tip. And having worked service jobs, coming from parents who worked service jobs, a tip goes such a long way. And that's been my like favorite thing about making money now is I can like tip people the way that I wish I always could tip them. But yeah, I always have guilt, but then I kind of let it light a fire under my ass to go make money. I always make a joke after I spend money on like house stuff or, you know, I get hit with fucking taxes. I like call my team and I'm like, all right, I hope you enjoyed 10 minutes off. Let's get back to work. I need, you know. And then I don't know about, you know, I hate when people are like, I manifested this whole career. Yes, I believe in that, but I don't, you know, it's usually like really successful people that are like, I just one day was like, I'm going to be rich. And then I was rich. And then you're like, whatever. I will say though, you know, if I put things out there, I find that usually I can eventually attain them. I don't know if that's manifestation or it's my ego and pride where I'm like, if I say I need to make this much, I need to find a way. I also have always, but just want to preface this, even Shane talks about this. I have always been really good at figuring out how to make money. Like always. Like Shane would be like, I was on Poshmark for 12 years. Like I would go out every day, thrift a bunch of stuff, list like 50 things. Like I never was in the type where I'm like, oh, I'm not, like I always found a way to make money. Always. I would buy and resell things on OfferUp, on Facebook Marketplace. I would do Poshmark. I started Woman Child. I took $10,000 of unemployment during COVID and I put it right into investing in my own business. Like I have always been in the mindset of like spend money to make money, and I will do anything in my power to make money this week. If I didn't make enough money this week, okay, what can I go do right now to make more money? So I've just always been like that ever since I was very, very fucking little. Like the second I turned 16, I went, like all my friends had spring break. I went and did my lifeguard certification. Like I've always loved working and I've always loved making my own money. And I always know that I've always figured it out. And even when I get guilty now, I'm like, girl, you used to overdraft into the negatives and you still figured out how to pay rent. You're going to figure it out. And that's the thing. You will figure it out. What else do we got? Talk about boxing. I feel like I've talked about boxing. Have I talked about boxing? I don't know, but I feel like people always are so, I didn't realize how fascinated people were about women boxing. Like, you know, when you just do something you do something for so long and you kind of think it's the norm, and then you like hear how people respond to it and you're like, whoa, people think that's cool. I started boxing in 2015. I had always been fascinated by martial arts. My uncle and grandfather were double black belts in karate. My uncle is a badass, like a karate badass. My mom did kickboxing. I've always been fascinated by martial arts. I was a 10-year-old girl. My dad used to come home from work and I would make him do wrestle matches, and I was always SpongeBob metal pants, and my secret weapon was I would fart. You think I'm kidding? I'm not. I would literally like fart and then throw the fart to my dad, and then I'd be like, oh, I won. I've always loved martial arts. I used to watch, like anytime I'd watch like a kung fu movie, I'd be like, oh, I can't wait to do that. Mainly because I was also a gymnast, and so much of martial arts there's so much gymnastics in it. And I started in 2015. I was working at Equinox, and I took all the money that I made and I put it into private lessons at the gym, and I would do one-on-one training, and I was training with an Italian coach, and I just absolutely fell in love with it. And I went from mixed martial arts, I did jujitsu, I did karate. I didn't really like karate. Then went back to, you know, Muay Thai, and now I just do boxing, and I love it. I love it. I love it so much. I will do it. I will box until I can't anymore. It kind of sucks with my travel schedule. I haven't been going as much as I normally like, and I can always tell when I haven't done it in a while, because I have so much built up angst. It really has been like a release for me. It keeps me in wonderful shape. It's really been on par with my gymnastics training. People always say to me like, oh, where should I start? Where should I start? People will tell you to go to like a boxing class. Don't do that. I do not think that you should do that. I've been to those boxing classes, but I have gone to them having a background in, I didn't just go to a boxing class having not done boxing at all. And I go and I'm like, damn, this is a melting pot for injuries. Those classes where you have all those boxing bags hanging and it's just a coach at the front yelling workouts, you're going to fuck your shoulder up. It used to take everything in me to not like tell people next to me, hey, don't throw like that. You're going to fucking fuck up your shoulder. They don't teach you form, and you can really, really hurt yourself. And also, I think that you should go either do one-on-one or find an actual boxing gym with a coach that has experience boxing and not just like an aerobics class that has boxing bags. That way you can at least understand the form, and then you can go do those classes because you'll understand how to throw punches. I also always like to preface, boxing on a heavy bag, hitting mitts, and hitting a speed bag are 3 different things. And like when I went from hitting mitts first and then went to a heavy bag and I was like, oh, this is a breeze. And then I went to a speed bag and I was like, oh, this fucking sucks. I think starting with mitts is the best, in my opinion. Starting with a heavy bag is probably the easiest, but I think it's most important to understand form first. And I think a lot of people are intimidated by martial arts. It's very intimidating. I will tell you this, nobody gives a fuck. Go to a boxing gym. I go to a boxing gym now. There are people in my class that have been boxing for 1,000,000 years. There are people that walk in, it's their first time they've ever put on fucking wraps. You go to a good place, first of all, no one around you is thinking about you being a beginner. Like, you're just a badass for showing up, and everybody knows that everybody starts somewhere. And the martial arts community especially is so uplifting. Anytime we get a newbie in class, I'm always like, so, especially when it's a girl, I'm always like, fuck yeah, like, hell yeah, you're doing more than most people. Like, you got your ass to a boxing class, you've never done this before. That's a huge feat. And then if you stick with it, it's a great tool. I think self-defense, swimming are like the 2 things that we should learn to do. You know, they're survival skills. So if you haven't done it, do it. Go do it. Where do you start? Just fucking start. Okay, I'm going to do one more. There's so many good questions. What is your story about getting Winston and Willa? Did you grow up with dachshunds? Did you plan on having dachshunds at some point? What was the story there? No, I grew up with fucking Yorkies. I grew up with Yorkshire Terriers. I really had nobody growing up that had dachshunds. At the start of COVID, I saw this one. I've always been an animal lover my entire life, and especially a dog lover. We had Yorkshire Terriers growing up, and literally right when COVID hit, I saw this video of this girl in bed, and she was putting her head on the pillow, and her dachshund like comes up and like lays on the pillow with her, and I was like, that's my dog. That's my dog. And I showed Shane, and it's funny because Shane wanted a German Shepherd. He's always wanted a German Shepherd. And I said, I have a great compromise, a wiener dog. And we just like fell into the lore. And this was like really before anybody, like they really weren't on social media. I just like, I don't know, I just did a bunch of research, and I was like, I feel like if I were a dog, I'd be a dachshund. Like, they're so loyal. They're so goofy. Like, you could just watch them. They're fucking goofy. They're always getting into trouble. They're sassy. Like, it just felt like me as a dog. We had Yorkies growing up, and they were very cute, but I always just felt like I just didn't resonate with them. And I just felt like dachshunds had so much like oomph and personality. And I've read that they're like pain in the asses and they're hard to train. And I'm like, yep, that's my dog. And we got Winston, and Shane and I just like absolutely fell in love. And the dachshund community, as I'm sure any dog breed, it's a cult. You know, we joined all the like dachshund groups, and I just like fell into the lore completely and became obsessed, and like also fucking wanted to drill my head up against the wall at the same time. Like, it just was filled with so many emotions because they're so difficult to train. They're so high maintenance in so many ways. Not all dachshunds, like some dachshunds, like Will is not a real dachshund. Winston is a fucking dachshund. Like, he's thick and girthy. He gets into everything. He jumps off furniture. Like, he's a fucking dachshund. Willa is like, she's a dachshund with like a lowercase d, you know? But yeah, now we're just like so into the lore. And it's actually funny. When Winston like started going viral, I don't go on Reddit for obvious reasons. Like, who the fuck is doing that? My now really, really close friend, she has had a dachshund, and we were just mutuals because at the time I was just like, I added everybody on social media that was a dachshund account, and just like, you know, I loved it. My whole feed was just dachshunds. It was amazing. We became kind of like internet friends, and then she had sent me, I think it was like when Winston ate a puppy patty. She was like, oh my God, your dog is famous. He's all over Reddit. And I'm like, whoa, Shane, look at Winston's all over Reddit. And then we ended up becoming like dear friends. I went to like her dachshund's birthday. She went to my dachshund's birthday. We used to go to dachshund meetups, and she's just remained my dear friend. She recently moved out of the country. What a fucking bitch. I'm so mad at her. But I'm also so happy, Alex. I love you. She was like my first dachshund friend. And yeah, they're like the most amazing little creatures. I do say I getting the second one was like, we always knew we wanted to get another one. And the timing in which we got Willa probably wasn't the best. It was like literally right as my career kind of like boof. And I was like, let's get a puppy, which is a little chaotic. But honestly, I think it ended up working out good because I think it made her be really independent because I was always traveling and Shane was at work, and she just was really sufficient on her own from the very beginning. You know, getting a second one, a dachshund specifically, you know, if you have one, you're thinking about getting a second one. The upside is obviously 10 pages long. The stress of being the only source of stimulation for your first dog is kind of removed. They have a friend. I think it definitely keeps your dog young because they're playing with a puppy. And it's just amazing having two. The downfall is you're raising a puppy, which remember how shitty that is. You're raising a puppy while also trying to keep your first dog's life as keeping that routine, because dogs love routine. So keeping Winston's routine while also introducing a puppy, and then not making either of them feel forgotten about, and then also creating lives for each of them individually, and then also keeping them together. There's just, I'm assuming when you have kids too, you know, there's a lot of dynamics. But now it's like, oh my God, they're so good together. It really was truly the best decision. Shane and I do talk about getting a third because now we're like, well, we already got two. What's a fucking third? But they're quirky. They're not meant for the faint of heart. They're not meant, if you don't have patience, don't get one. If you financially, they can be wildly fucking expensive. I would say probably like corgis, Frenchies, dachshunds. If you don't have a fucking savings account, I wouldn't even think about that territory because they will blow through that even with insurance. Also get pet insurance. That is a saving grace. But yeah, they're just the quirkiest animals, and I relate to them the most, mainly because they're fucking shitbags. All right, well, there's more good questions, but we'll save those for another time. I love you guys. If you have any more questions, always feel free to DM or comment them on Instagram, Life's a Joke Pod. Kelsey takes all of those and she puts them in a little file, and I go through them and I read them. All right, well, I love you guys, and I hope you have a great new year. I hope you have a great new year. It's not the new year while I'm recording this, so I don't know when this is coming out, but I think it's going to be the new year, so happy 2026. See you later, bitches.